Thank you for coming to this 37th annual membership dinner of the Coalition for Peace Action. Woody Allen says that 80% of life is showing up. And here you are showing up at this important milestone for this peacemaking organization. I might take the liberty of adding to Woody Allen's wisdom by saying when it comes to peacemaking, we've got to keep showing up over and over and over, because that's what makes a difference. Now, though the results of that showing up over and over, I just want to call your attention to in your program is a document on highlights of accomplishments. And I think that gives you some sense. It's just a summary, of course. There's a lot more that happened during this past year, but it gives you some sense of how much can be accomplished when people keep showing up and keep dedicating themselves to working for the cause of peace. If you're visual at all, we were supposed to have, but had a technical glitch right behind me, a slideshow of some of our accomplishments, including the ones on your list. Unfortunately, technical glitches happen. And so they're not there, but I have a backup for you. So it's always good to have a backup plan. And that is that if you go to our website, if you have your laptop with you, you could even do it right here, because I'm pretty sure they have Wi-Fi in this seminary. If you go to our website, peacecoalition.org, and you click on News and Events tab, then under that is something called Recent Events, and there are loads of pictures of our events over the past year and even further back there. And that is special thanks to John Leon, right over here, our volunteer photographer. Yes, give him a hand. Now, also on that website, on the same tab, you can click on something called Recent Coverage. That means press coverage. And you'll see a long list of coverage of events that the Coalition for Peace Action has sponsored or co-sponsored. And I'm very proud of the fact that so far this year, we have had front page coverage a half dozen times of our events, including for this event today. Front page coverage. All of the successes listed, all of the press coverage, is all a result of what I call the team effort. And Irene's already started us on a good note in that regard, acknowledging the great work that so many people have done and have been doing, but especially to make this event happen today. So many great people working together. And it's us all working together that makes our successes happen. I want to also talk for just a few minutes. Can't go on too long, although I like my 20-minute sermons. It's a Sunday, you know. But I'll keep it to less than 20, I hope. I want to just mention 3 challenges, and I'm going to also add the word opportunities. You know, the Chinese word for crisis means both. It means both a challenge and an opportunity, and I like that. So we have several of those in the year coming up. And one of the first ones I want to highlight is the need to help establish a norm that delegitimizes the existence of nuclear weapons and legitimizes their global abolition. This has been our founding goal and is still front and center. How do we make nuclear weapons no longer acceptable morally, legally, militarily, and in every other way, so that that scourge will no longer be threatening life on Earth? It's the only danger that could eliminate life on Earth literally in a half hour. In a half hour, because as Professor von Hippel has documented so well, thousands of these nuclear weapons that are still in existence are on hair trigger alert and could be launched in less than that time, delivered within a half hour. And so we need to help people become aware that that danger persists, but also that the efforts to mobilize to resist it is also moving forward. And I'm very excited to tell you about something that I'm guessing many of you didn't know about until right now when I'm about to tell you. That is that the United Nations has started a process for negotiating a binding treaty to abolish nuclear weapons everywhere on this planet. That started this spring. And it's going to continue this summer. And so if you turn your highlights of success over, you'll see a very special opportunity to come on the peace train on June 17th. Even if you can't come into New York with us, you have the opportunity to come to a pre-boarding rally in Trenton. I hope you'll come. If you don't want to get on in Trenton, we'll be stopping on the Northeast Corridor. It says on that flyer what time that train starts. I hope you'll come into it with us, because we're going to be joining up once we get into New York with the Women's March to Ban the Bomb. And I want to say something special right now about the leadership of women, because when I think about what has made major social change happen in this country and around the world, so often one of the things that's overlooked is the incredible leadership that women have showed. And even when I think about banning the bomb, think about the first resistance to nuclear weapons. It was when the mothers mobilized and said, we will not tolerate strontium-90 in our children's milk. That's when things started to stop. That's when President Kennedy said, I've got to ban atmospheric nuclear testing and move forward on it. So the women are in the leadership again. It's going to be the Women's March to Ban the Bomb. Women-led, but everybody of every gender is invited and welcome. This is not just pie in the sky, by the way. That flyer, one of the things I really like about it is it shows previous successes at banning weapons of mass destruction, biological, chemical, landmines. These things have all been banned. And let me just dwell for a minute on landmines to say why this is not just some pie-in-the-sky dream. You know, that campaign won the Nobel Peace Prize, and deservedly so, because they couldn't get most of the countries that were producing and possessing landmines, they couldn't get them to join that treaty process. It was the Ottawa process. That's where the negotiations took place. But you know what? They went ahead anyway. And now there's so much pressure on the other countries of the world that they have started to reluctantly go along. And so this is what we call establishing a new norm, establishing a new principle of international law that says certain things are no longer acceptable. They're so inhumane and so destructive that we won't countenance their existence anymore. A second priority that I want to mention in terms of our work as we go forward is our peace voter effort. I'm very proud of this because we were the leaders of inaugurating this nationally. And I want to say, especially for our state legislators who are here, the state legislative race in 1995 was our test case for our peace voter campaign. Reed Gusiora was running right here in this district, and he was running against the NRA poster boy. And that poster boy, who was former assistant chief police for Trenton, he raised $300,000 to Reed raising $30,000. But Reed had a secret weapon, which was our peace voter campaign and other people who mobilized and distributed thousands of peace voter guides, and he won. So money doesn't have to control this process. We, the people, can control it. To learn more about our peace voter campaign, it's mentioned in the highlights, but I hope you'll click on our website on the top right-hand icon on our peace voter campaign, because we've been doing one. We don't often do them in odd-numbered years, but this year, because New Jersey is one of only 2 statewide elections this year, we felt it was so important to show that there could be effective pushback against Trumpism, against this whole militarization of our society that has started with President Trump. And so we are prioritizing the gubernatorial campaign, and there's a peace voter guide there. We've done 4 candidate briefings. It's all described in that website. Now, even if we are stymied to a large degree at generating new federal legislation, we're very much in a defensive mode, unfortunately, on that, just trying to keep the bad stuff from passing to the degree that we can. Where we can make progress is with state legislation. And one of the places that we can make a very good example of that, in fact, is the domestic violence legislation that is effectively passed on a bipartisan basis here in New Jersey and is keeping guns away from people in domestic violence situations. This is a great example of a bipartisan success. It was mentioned just this past Thursday in a New York Times editorial. I hope you all saw that in a very salutary way. And so this is the kind of thing that we need you to engage with us on in our peace voter effort to have the maximum effect. A third priority that I want to just mention briefly is the last item on your highlights of accomplishments is we are also taking on some new cutting-edge issues, and one of those is drone warfare. We've been very blessed to get some generous grants to do this, to help begin to mobilize the faith community around this issue of drone warfare. Very troubling, morally, militarily. In fact, we're so honored that Colonel Wilkerson will be including some remarks, I think, about drone warfare in his remarks today in his keynote speech. We have so far produced 4 videos, half-hour videos for the faith community to use. We did a national conference at Princeton Seminary right here in January of 2015. The year after that, we did 6 regional conferences all around the country. And now we're really moving to the grassroots phase of the local congregations. And for that, of course, you want things that are going to be able to be done in an hour, because that's how long adult education hours last. And so we have half-hour videos that are available at interfaithdronenetwork.org. I hope if you're part of a congregation, you'll commend it to your congregation, urge them to show it as part of their adult education program, maybe in the summer, maybe this fall. It's already been shown at Christ Congregation that I'm a part of. So if you want to know more about those videos and how they look, how well they're received in the congregation, talk to me, talk to Charles and Carol McCullough there from Christ Congregation. I think Ted Hardgrove is also here. Yeah, Ted is there. And so talk to any of us, and we can tell you that they are a powerful means of educating the public. And Colonel Wilkerson, we especially appreciate your very good role in the first video, the basic educational video. So those are the things that are our challenges, and I've reached the point now, and indeed I am finishing in less than 20 minutes. Irene, see, miracles happen. Miracles happen when I'm around. This is a less than 20-minute talk. I'm now going to wrap up by returning to what I said earlier about the importance of showing up and being part of the peacemaking team.